I just got my boyfriend.
Tell me what happened. Hey, what? Hey, is he awake?
He's dead. I think he's dead.
What happens when the person you thought you could trust forever turns on you in the most brutal way possible?
I can't breathe, babe.
Oh. That's what I feel like when you drink on me.
Sarah!
Prepare yourself. This one isn't for the faint of heart, as we look at the most horrifying cases of when girlfriends went wrong.
Had a bottle of wine last night. Okay. So then it's like, we decided to play hide and seek, right? Okay. So he gets in the suitcase, okay? The problem is I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
When did you do CPR?
This morning, when I found it.
Before you called?
Yes!
1 o'clock right now.
I tried, I was awake, but I actually got out of the bed at like 12:30ish, whatever. So I came downstairs, and I was like, oh, he's in the suitcase still. And that's when I found him, and I took him out, and I tried doing CPR, and then I called him, and then I called you guys.
So you were playing and who zipped him up in?
I did, but then I fell asleep.
Okay. You're okay. I wasn't here. I'm just trying to figure out what
I
happened.
fell asleep, so I don't know if he suffocated or like had an aneurysm or a heart attack or what.
A game of hide and seek was how Sarah Boone described the tragic demise of her boyfriend, George Torres. In February 2020, in Winter Park, Florida, Sarah recounted how she and George had been drinking all night long and decided it'd be fun to play a game. She said he scrambled into a suitcase and that she, as a joke, zipped it shut, laughing about how his 103-pound body could fit inside. After growing tired, however, Sarah went to bed, assuming George could get out. The following morning, she came downstairs to find that he was still in the suitcase, only now he was unresponsive and purple-faced. Or at least, that's what she said. But down at the station, her story began to fall apart under scrutiny.
You said you played hide and seek like probably 3 times in your relationship. When you have played, have you ever zipped him up in a suitcase prior?
No, I don't think you all understand who I am.
Well, tell me.
I mean, I've always been a straight A student. I am an outstanding mother to my son. I excel at everything.
I excel at everything, huh? Well, she didn't excel at fooling the police, who saw something wasn't right. And after going through her phone, cops discovered a video that revealed the horrific truth. Sarah hadn't zipped him in there for fun. She'd done it to hurt him. See, George had a history of being abusive. So when he got inside the suitcase, Sarah had seized the opportunity for revenge. After securely zipping him into the tiny, cramped space, she started filming him as he suffered.
I can't breathe, babe.
Oh. That's what I feel like when you drink on me.
Sarah!
You!
That's disturbing, and the cops agreed.
He's begging for you to let him out. You're laughing in the beginning, and then in the end, it sounds kind of like a
No, it's not malicious.
Well, same.
It's not malicious.
Then what is that?
what does mean to you?
I get called everything but a white woman, so.
Alrighty. It turned out that while desperately trying to escape, George had managed to free his hand, only for Sarah to repeatedly hit it with a baseball bat until he put it back in. Doomed, George took his last panic breaths and suffocated. After calling 911, Sarah was arrested and interrogated, then charged with second-degree homicide. But she clashed with her attorneys so much that before her trial, 8 of them withdrew, citing irreconcilable difficulties. I wonder what that means. So she did the sanest thing she could think of and wrote a handwritten ad for a lawyer. Just take a second and look at that. It reads more like an ad for a game show contestant than a defense lawyer for a homicide case. Unhinged narcissist doesn't even begin to describe it. And I don't see a law degree as one of the requirements on there either. After 4 years of delay, an attorney was eventually found and the case went to trial in July 2024. He argued that Sarah had suffered psychologically from George's abuse and that she had only been acting in self-defense. And while it's true that abuse in any form is inexcusable, the prosecutor said Sarah's argument of self-defense was contradicted by the awful footage found of her taunting him. The jury then saw the suitcase where George passed away. Equally shocking was the odd behavior from the defendant. She asked for the judge for professional hair and makeup for the trial, like she was treating it as her 15 minutes of fame. Okay. Much to her dismay, she was denied, and things didn't get any better for her. The court were on the prosecutor's side. They believed Sarah felt no remorse and found her guilty, to which she had this to say.
Forgive me, George. Forgive me, Torres family. Forgive me, Judge Cranick. To the entire planet, please forgive me. Everyone supposes that this is one of the worst experiences of my life, and it's actually been one of my greatest.
What?
Yeah, safe to say the whole planet condemned her. In December 2024, she was sentenced to stay in prison for life. But if you thought that was messed up, stick around. You've seen nothing yet.
Hey, what happened?
I don't know.
Did you just come home?
Yeah, I was down the street walking my dog and they shot him.
This is 22-year-old Alyssa Blackburn, just after the shooting of her boyfriend, Jesse Gohagan, in Montclair, Florida, 2022. Frantic, she told the cops she'd been walking her dog when she heard gunshots coming from their house. She rushed back only to find Jesse lying on the floor inside, his body riddled with bullet wounds. When the authorities arrived, he was barely breathing. Tragically, Jesse didn't survive, and the case quickly became a homicide investigation. The police's only lead? Alyssa, the sole witness.
What happened?
I was down the street walking my dog and they shot him.
Who shot him?
I don't know.
Did you find him like this?
Yeah, I just had to kick in the back door because nobody was knocking.
So do you live here?
Yes.
Who is that gentleman to you?
It's my boyfriend.
Are you the one that called 911?
No.
Who called 911? Because it was a female.
I called 911 because I heard the gunshot.
Why are you lying to me? You understand me? Stop. Don't start lying to me. You understand what's standing there? I need proof.
I'm the one who did it.
Then go tell me you didn't call.
You're going to get me shot out here. You realize that? We're Montclair.
Before you left to walk the dog, was he by himself?
Yeah, no, there was nobody else here.
And he wasn't like that, right?
No, he was not like that. He was fine. He was in the room. And he was not bleeding on the ground.
Who else lives here?
This is, I don't even know whose house this is. I just got here like 2 days ago. I swear to God, I just moved here. All my stuff's in that back bedroom, but my dog's in there.
Okay, here are a few things to note. Alyssa said she was walking her dog when the shooting happened, so she called the cops, claiming no one else was home when she left Jesse. What's more, she'd said they'd only been living in the house for 2 days. So far, so innocent. However, the police uncovered some crucial extra details after speaking to a couple of her neighbors.
I heard 2 gunshots about 10 o'clock this morning, and I saw a little black car. But, come and go and come back, you know.
Did you hear some gunshots?
Yeah, I heard 4 of them.
Over here?
I just seen a black boy and a white boy just get in the car, and I seen the white boy come out with the gun in his hand.
What kind of vehicle?
It's like a beat up, old school looking Toyota Camry. And he came out the door, he said, I told them, just don't want to play with me. Was it a black boy or a white boy that got shot?
White guy got shot.
Ooh,
the one that lived there.
Tattoos?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who, they always going, I back and forth.
With different people?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that car in the area before, that white guy?
Always there.
The Camry's always there?
Yeah.
So apparently 2 men, one black, one white, stepped out of a black Toyota and entered Jesse's house. The white man had been holding a gun, and shots were heard splintering through the neighborhood before both men fled the scene. Knowing this, skeptical deputies started to question Alyssa's version of events.
This house is not just 2 days lived in.
Well, hang on. Right.
There's other people that live there.
Right.
So who are they? If I ask if lives here and she says no, she's lying. Why would she lie? Okay, I'm just gonna go for it. Does anybody else live here with you and Jesse?
I don't know who lives here and who don't, because there's people here all in and out all the time. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a dude named, I mean, he sleeps on the couch sometimes, I guess. I don't know. Because he was like, I've been letting you stay here because he stayed in tip. But the way they were talking, it sounded like he just got here. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't been there that long.
Whoa. There was someone else in the house when Alyssa left Jesse, a guy who was sleeping on the couple's couch. So why hadn't she mentioned this man before?
I have a vague suspicion.
At the station, Alyssa, alongside her mom, talked about a friend who'd picked her up from the house that day.
It's a friend. I don't really know
known like that, you know what I'm saying?
And what kind of car did this person pick you up?
A black car.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of car
It was just black.
It's a older vehicle that doesn't even have the emblems on it.
Did you see it?
I didn't pay
Yeah, it was black.
Looked like it was spray painted.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It was.
I know it was black, though. I didn't
Like
pay
on
attention.
Toyota or something like that.
Oblivious, Alyssa's mom had just described the car the two gunmen used to make their getaway after mercilessly shooting Jesse, and admitted that Alyssa was inside it, being picked up by a friend. Another breakthrough came when they brought in the sofa surfer Alyssa had mentioned earlier. What he said blew the case wide open.
So, before we get through all the details, who is that person that actually pulled the trigger?
It's Jacob Colville.
Okay, who was the black guy that was there with him?
I've never seen him before in my life.
Okay, if you were shown a picture of him, would you be able to possibly recognize him?
Should be able to.
Okay.
How long have you known Colville? Colville, I met him, I think, 2018 in Walton County. He was we were in the same little pod together in Walton County.
The killer now had a name, Jacob Colville, the white guy in the black Toyota holding the gun, and the friend who'd picked up Alyssa from her house. But that wasn't all. The roommate told this story.
Colville showed up with his two kids in the car and got out and started an altercation with Jesse. And this is all over a female. This is all over a girl. What's her name? Alyssa Blackburn. I guess Colville's in love with his girlfriend or something. I'm not even sure who the girl liked, if she liked either of them or not. And I thought they were supposed to be friends. But no, as soon as the girl comes out of the house and says Jesse's inside, they didn't hesitate to, should we leave it? No, they went right inside my house. And they go down the hallway and they look through the first room, look through the second room, and I'm at this point I'm playing stupid. I'm like, what's going on, guys? And I don't know what's going on. I wasn't watching. I did not have my head turned towards down the hallway, but there was two gunshots, and I hear screaming. There's two gunshots, and then by the time I look down the hallway, I see Colville backing up, like with the guns on Jesse, and Jesse looked like he had blood right here, maybe like in the stomach, and then in the chest or the shoulder, and even when he was on the ground, he shot another couple rounds, I believe. How many rounds total? I can't.
Quite a few.
Yeah, I can't even tell you. Whenever Colville and the black guy run out the front door, they took off.
Colville and his accomplice, later revealed to be a guy named Lawrence Bonner Jr., were on a search and destroy mission to kill Jesse. And most shocking of all, Alyssa was in on it. It turned out that after she, Colville, and Lawrence had arrived at the house in the black Toyota, Alyssa had gone inside to check Jesse was in there, then walked back out and confirmed it to the two men. Knowing the unsuspecting boyfriend was ripe for the taking, they went in to finish the job. Lawrence confirmed Alyssa's involvement, and after admitting to being an accomplice, he was arrested, and the rest would follow. Colville was caught next, found with a loaded gun and drugs in his car. Far from remorseful, he openly admitted he didn't regret the violent act. Both were sent to jail, Lawrence for 5 years, Colville for life. As for Alyssa, it revealed that her emotional display was all just an act.
Ha! Ha! I'm acting.
She'd wanted Jesse dead. In 2025, she was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. So why did they end Jesse's life? Well, the reasons aren't entirely clear, but evidence shown at the trial showed that despite being in a relationship with Jesse, Alyssa was also dating Colville, and there was a lot of tension between the three. Alyssa even intimated that she'd wanted Colville to make Jesse leave her alone. Well, he certainly did that. On top of this, everybody involved was caught up in some kind of drug operation, which, while details are scarce on, can't have exactly helped. It's just sad that it had to end like this. Now time to thank our sponsor, Free Cash. Free Cash allows you to earn a little extra money by doing things like playing games, completing surveys, and testing apps. I don't change how much time I'm using my phone, but simply change what I do on the phone. Just look at the offers available here for playing solitaire. It's simple. Just remember to enable app tracking so you can be rewarded properly. In-app purchases you make will level you faster, maximize your your earnings, and you'll even get cash back on those purchases. When you're ready to withdraw, the process is quick and user-friendly, with a minimum cash out of just $25. The minimum is only for the first cash out, and then there's no minimum afterwards. And if you sign up for free using my link, you'll get a $10 bonus. It's so easy, even I can do it. Now, I'm not saying it's a replacement for a job, but it's just a casual way of earning a little extra cash. Remember, the more offers you complete, the more you make. Keep me posted with what you earn using free cash. Now back to the video. This is the last photo ever taken of 30-year-old Travis Alexander alive, before his life was horrifically stolen by his ex-girlfriend, Jodi Arias. In June 2008, his body was found abandoned in the shower, covered in nearly 30 cuts with a gunshot to the head. This story of lust and death became one of the most infamous U.S. cases of the late 2000s and chilled the nation to the bone. To the outside world, Travis was a clean-cut Mormon boy when he met Jodi at a work convention in 2006, and they began a long-distance relationship despite him living in Arizona and her in California. Travis converted Jodi to Mormonism, and together they traveled the Southwest, seemingly deeply in love. Unbeknownst to their friends, they were getting it on, and in doing so, breaking one of the most important tenets of the Mormon faith, celibacy before marriage. Yet there was something far more concerning about their relationship, something friends did clock onto. Jodi was obsessed with him. She'd go through his phone, read his text messages, hide behind doors, eavesdropping on him, and couldn't stand him talking to any other women. One of Travis's female friends recalled one time when Travis was visiting getting a sudden chilling feeling that someone was outside the front door. When Travis opened it, there she was, Jodi, standing there with eyes full of rage. Nothing suspect had been going on. The woman's husband was also hanging out with them, but that apparently meant nothing to Jodi. Another time, Travis and Jodi were in a hot tub with a few of Travis's friends when Jodi sat on top of him and started acting very touchy-feely in plain view of everyone despite Travis's attempts to rebuke her. Grappling with guilt over their not-so-Mormon relationship and growing increasingly concerned at her obsessive behavior, Travis ended things after 5 months. But that didn't stop Jodi. She moved to Mesa, the same city as Travis, and began sneaking into his house through the doggy door. Sometimes he'd be angry with her, sometimes they'd jump right into bed. Even so, Travis started dating someone else, and after 8 months of barking up the Travis tree, Jodi moved back to California in April 2008. But despite expressing relief, it seems Travis just couldn't stay away. He kept in contact, even engaging in flirty phone calls with her in secret. Yet, whatever was left of the relationship quickly fell apart again after the pair began arguing, with Travis even calling her a sociopath. Jump forward 2 years to June 2008, and police were investigating Travis's grisly demise. Jodi had an alibi, though. She said she'd been on her way to Utah to visit her new partner on the day it happened, but Travis's friends, well aware of her stalkerish behavior, were skeptical, and rightfully so. One of her fingerprints and some hairs linked her to the crime scene, but the most damning evidence was a camera found in the washing machine containing photos of the pair, including that final haunting picture of Travis, time-stamped from that day of the crime. There was no doubt that Jodi had driven all the way to Arizona to see Travis despite her so-called alibi. So, after becoming prime suspect number 1, she did this after being left alone in her interrogation room.
The stars are brightly shining. This is the day of our dear Savior's return.
Looks sane to me.
Well, kinda.
Throughout a mind-boggling 7-hour interrogation, Alyssa still didn't confess, despite her story being laced with inconsistencies. Faced with undeniable evidence, though, she was forced to admit she was with Travis that fateful day, though now she suddenly claimed they were attacked by masked intruders.
And I don't really know what happened after that exactly, except I think he was shot, and I heard this loud ring. I don't really remember except Travis was screaming. I couldn't tell that at first, but you could just see one was a girl, and I assume the other was a guy because their build. And then their voices. Yeah, the girl wanted to kill me too.
As you can imagine, no one believed her blatant lies, and she was charged with second-degree homicide. The case went to trial in 2013, and on the stand, she changed her story again. This time, claiming Travis had attacked her after she dropped his camera and that she'd fought for her life.
He lunges at me like a linebacker.
He lunges at you, and that's when the gun goes off, right?
It went off prior to
him lunging at you?
Prior to impacting me.
Meanwhile, prosecutors argued the opposite, that Jody, a sociopathic narcissist, flew into a jealous rage when she learned he'd been dating other women, bought the weapons, and premeditated the whole thing.
Now you can't even believe your own eyes. Because if you do believe your own eyes, you know she's premeditating the murder. She's thinking about killing him. That's all that's required.
Despite a whole lot of crocodile tears from Jody, the prosecutors proved to be the most convincing. The jury found her guilty in May 2013. She was sentenced to life imprisonment, where she's remained ever since. In August 2018, in Al Ain, UAE, a 30-year-old Moroccan woman was told by her partner of 7 years that he was leaving her to marry someone else. Put it this way, she didn't take it well, and her partner never saw the next morning. At the time of making this video, the case is still ongoing, so while I don't know how exactly she did him in, I do know what she did with the body. No. Brace yourself. The bloodthirsty woman used a blender, and it wasn't to make a fruit smoothie, before cooking him into matchboos, a traditional meat and rice dish. In ordinary circumstances, that'd probably be quite nice. Not so much on this occasion. To dispose of the evidence, she did something that's possibly even worse. She served the dish to some unsuspecting Pakistani builders working nearby. Oh God, that's horrific. Months later, the victim's worried brother came looking for him, but the callous woman acted ignorant and told him she'd kicked him out of the house. Suspicious, he reported his brother's disappearance to the police. The cops turned up, and after investigating the woman's house, discovered something small and grisly in the blender, a broken human tooth. Testing it, they confirmed that it indeed belonged to the victim, and the woman was, unsurprisingly, arrested. Like much of this gruesome case, details haven't been released about the trial, but something tells me the Moroccan mincer didn't get off lightly.
I'm the best person at making animal noises. And, a dolphin.
That was Tamika Chesser, star of Australia's Beauty and the Geek Season 2, way back in 2010. Looks innocent, right? Well, following the show, she became a model and influencer. But in June 2025, things took a horrifying turn for the worst in Port Lincoln, where she lived with her boyfriend, Julian Story. A neighbor spotted a plume of black smoke rising from the couple's home and quizzed Tamika about it, who was outside. She said not to worry and went to take the dogs for a walk, but after the smoke got worse, the neighbor did worry. Taking a bucket of water, they entered through the back door and walked into the bathroom, where they were met with a terrible sight. Nestled in a smoldering bundle of rags was the charred body of Julian, minus the head. The neighbor screamed. By the time the police arrived, they found Tamika in the backyard, slumped in a chair and in a catatonic state. Nevertheless, she was arrested and charged with homicide. So, how did a reality star end up taking her partner's life in such a horrendous fashion? Well, before the incident, Tamika's mental health had been deteriorating, and her behavior becoming increasingly erratic. According to her sister, it just started getting worse. Not long before the killing, she'd shaved her head and was filmed having some sort of breakdown at a local pub. Oh man. But the most disturbing thing about the case? They couldn't find Julian's head. A search began, and to aid the effort, police released CCTV footage of Tamika walking her dogs, wearing a hijab, and carrying a suspicious bag, taken around 3 hours before the grim discovery. Could the head have been in there? We just don't know. A disturbing breakthrough came in July of that year, however, when an unsuspecting dog walker found a skull hidden among some shrub, suburbs away from Tamika's Port Lincoln home. and it belonged to Julian. But in another shocking twist, it turns out that Tamika was pregnant when she was arrested, and whilst held in a psychiatric facility, gave birth to a baby boy. Subsequently, the child was taken into her family's care, and the father's identity has not been revealed. Man, poor kid. As for Tamika, she's been charged with taking Julian's life and destroying human remains, likely resulting in a life sentence of 20 to 35 years. Jeez. Well, I hope it at least gives his family some closure, but I'm sure this isn't the last we've heard about this. The one crucial question remains unanswered. Why did Tamika Chesser kill Julian Story? Well, mental health goes some way in explaining it, but not far enough. The same neighbor that found Julian apparently heard the couple arguing just days before. About what? We don't know. Yet. But if you thought that sordid tale was dark, what's coming next will shock you to your core. This is Lakhvir Singh, better known as the Curry Killer, and you'll find out why. Back in 2008 in Feltham, London, Lakhvir had just had her heart broken. She'd been having a long-term affair with Lakhvinder Lucky Chima, but he'd split up with her after 16 years. She had a husband, sure, but Lucky was the one that had stolen her heart. Even so, now it was time for Lucky to go through with an arranged marriage to his 21-year-old fiancée, Gurjeet. Singh didn't take the news well. While they were going out, she'd told Lucky once that she'd burn down his house if she ever found him in bed with another woman. Dismissing the threat, he'd gone ahead with the engagement. But in January 2009, Lucky was about to find out that he didn't live up to his name. He and Gurjeet, now living together, were eating leftover curry from the fridge, with Lucky tucking in for seconds. Soon, however, something bubbled up inside him and he threw up violently. Then his face grew numb until it was fully paralyzed, and to his horror, Gurjeet started throwing up too. He collapsed, writhing in agony. And despite all this, he managed to call the emergency services, telling the operator with difficulty that his ex must have somehow poisoned him. No ambulance could get to the scene fast enough, but his nephews were on hand to help. You can see just how bad he looked in his CCTV footage of them struggling to carry him to the car. Oh man. He was whisked away to a hospital, but in less than an hour, he'd passed. And in the midst of the chaos, things went from bad to worse when Gurjeet noticed her vision going blurry. Then everything went dark. Doctors acted quickly, putting her in a medically induced coma. Thankfully, she survived. But how had all this happened? Well, forensic teams were sent into the house, and after doing a thorough search, they found aconite in the curry pot. Known as the Queen of Poisons, it's one of the deadliest and most excruciating in the whole world, causing nausea, heart failure, paralysis, intense agony, and finally death. So best not to give it a nibble. The only reason Gurjeet survived was because she'd eaten less curry than Lucky, who'd gone in for fatal seconds. Remembering that Lucky had told the operator about his ex poisoning him, police investigated Lakhvir, and sure enough, they found a plastic bag filled with brown powder in her coat pocket. It was aconite. Lakhvir was like, "Duh, how'd that get in there?" and was promptly arrested. It was later revealed that when Lucky had announced the engagement, she'd flown all the way to India to buy the poison, and then promptly returned to England to carry out the vengeful deed. Heck, the successful attempt she'd made on Lucky's life wasn't even the first. A month before he passed, Lucky had been hospitalized for a week after checking in with very similar symptoms. That time, Lakhvir had even come into the hospital to play the role of concerned lover. It turns out that she'd invited herself over under the guise of a planned visit while Lucky and Gurjeet were out of the house. Their housemates had presumably let her in, and she'd proceeded to sprinkle the deadly stuff into a leftover curry in the fridge. One of the housemates even saw her handling the food, but thought nothing of it at the time. Jeez, what a horrible person. The jury thought so too, and the curry killer was sentenced to life imprisonment. I like a true crime doc as much as the next emo, but hanging portraits of real-life monsters on the wall is taking it a bit too far. This home belonged to Shane Groves, a dark soul who collected knives and axes and was obsessed with death. Well, I'm sure this will end well. In 2022, in the Hampshire town of Havant, she was dating Frankie Fitzgerald, and though their relationship was a chaotic whirlwind fueled by drink and drugs, she cared about him. And then one day, everything changed. While he was sleeping, she went through his phone and noticed he'd been messaging a girl on Facebook. What's more, the girl had told Frankie she was underage. Oh, crap. But instead of doing something normal, like, reporting Frankie to the authorities, Shane secretly plotted bloody revenge. Using her knowledge from the countless grisly documentaries she'd watched, she set about portraying herself as a victim of domestic abuse by recording them being intimate and then editing the footage to make Frankie appear monstrously violent. This she showed to her friend Vicky Baitup to frame Frankie. And then came the night Shane had been waiting for. While Frankie slept, Shane took a knife she'd hidden under her pillow, brought it up to his throat, and, well, let's just say she did it 17 more times than she needed to. Frankie never woke up. Following the terrible act, Shane got straight to work cleaning up the bedroom and even FaceTimed Vicky, explaining that she'd acted immediately after seeing the messages on his phone. She claimed that, plus the abuse, made her snap. In reality, she was building upon the narrative she'd already begun sowing days before. Shocked and scared, Vicky called the police and Shane was promptly arrested.
No, don't close the door. What's going on? You're under arrest on suspicion of murder. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned, something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. The necessity for your arrest is for a prompt and effective investigation.
In court, her evil plan was picked apart like a spider's web. Police got a hold of the original unedited tapes she'd recorded and knew she was no victim of abuse. But you want to know the real clincher? The girl Frankie had been messaging wasn't even underage. She'd been lying. And as soon as she'd told him, he'd blocked her. Why anyone would lie about something like that is beyond me. But Frankie was innocent and died for absolutely no reason. Damn. Shane was sentenced to a minimum of 23 years, and if you ask me, that's not near enough. But if you thought that was disturbing, this next case made me sick to my stomach. In 2022, in Green Bay, Wisconsin, police received a shocking call from a woman who sounded disturbed beyond comprehension.
Pretty positive my son's head is in a bucket, a yellow bucket in my basement.
What makes you think that?
Because I looked in the bucket.
And what did you see?
Exactly what I told you.
Okay, where's the rest of the body at?
No idea.
It couldn't be like a fake head or something?
I'm not touching it. I'm not looking at it again.
Okay. All right, ma'am. Just go ahead and wait for the officers, okay?
That was the mother of 24-year-old Shad Thyrian. Earlier, he'd invited his lover, Taylor Shabiznis, round to his mom's house. The two had known each other since middle school and were down in the basement smoking stuff that wasn't tobacco. And then suddenly Taylor, with all the evil in her heart, wrapped a chain around Shad's throat and inexplicably took his life. Not yet satisfied, though, she began to desecrate his body. I can't go into detail about what she did, but trust me, your imagination isn't bad enough. Following the heinous act, she hid his remains around his mom's house before fleeing the scene. Shad's mom was woken by the sound of a door slamming and a car driving away in the early hours. Confused, she got out of bed and saw light coming from the basement. Going downstairs, she looked into a bucket and saw the worst sight she'd ever seen in her life. Soon, cops arrived on the scene, and even they were shaken by the horrific sight.
That's real dog. That's real dog.
Quickly tracking Taylor down, police saw in disgust that her clothes were covered in dried blood, and she was immediately arrested.
Who else is in the apartment? Be straight up. Tomes? Who else? Just Tomes? Is he armed? Nobody's armed?
Nobody's armed.
You sure?
I'm sure.
At the station, Taylor's statements were both intensely disturbing and also confused. She claimed to have blacked out during the whole thing, yet admitted to certain sordid details.
Well, they found a kind of disturbing stuff at the house there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of blood. Basically Shad's head. Yeah.
You ever love something so much that you kill it? What? Like, it happens to me. That's the feeling that I have. I love something so much that I kill it. Like, I love it so much, and then I kill it. That's what happens to me. So,
Alright, so he dies, he's dead. And then you just kept playing with his body. How long did you play with his body, you think? Is that when you thought it was looked outside and it might have been light out too?
No, it's still dark.
Still dark?
It's gotta be like 2-3 hours.
Ugh, her actions shocked the community, and it didn't get any better. During a pretrial hearing, Taylor attacked her attorney, forcing a deputy to wrestle her to the floor. To no one's surprise, her attorney quit just 10 minutes later. She pleaded not guilty by reason of mental illness, even telling one psychologist she'd had a fling with monster Jeffrey Dahmer, despite him passing 3 years before she was born. Regardless, the jury found that she was sane at the time of the awful act and returned a guilty verdict in just a half hour. Wearing a spit hood to prevent her from spitting or biting anyone, the remorseless monster was sentenced to life imprisonment for her despicable crimes. But that's not even the end of it. In 2025, she was brought to court again for attacking a prison nurse, and this happened. Her attorney's expression says it all. With deathly precision, Catherine Knight sliced meat from the bone at an abattoir in Aberdeen, New South Wales. Reveling in the sickening smells of the slaughterhouse, it was her dream job, a place where she could perfect her skills in flaying skin and handling knives. By 1995, Catherine was in a relationship with John Price, just your average dad of 3 who liked a pint down at the pub. To their friends, their relationship looked normal, but, oh boy, it was anything but. Catherine may look all nice in her cheery smile and owlish glasses, but she was relentlessly, inhumanly violent. Before John, she'd been married 3 times, and each husband left terrified. She tried to strangle her first husband on their wedding night, then later walloped him on the head with a frying pan, fracturing his skull. Ouch. To warn her second what she'd do if he ever had an affair, she picked up his pet puppy, took a knife, and that was the end of the poor pooch. Details are scarce on her third, but one thing's for sure, they didn't last long. And her history of violence extended beyond her marriages, with at least 1 instances of random knife crime and another leaving her own baby daughter on a railway track. Sheesh, this woman had issues. Despite his better judgment, however, somehow John fell in love with Catherine and decided to move in with her, but he fell short of agreeing to marry her. Furious, Catherine reported John to his boss for a minor theft, getting him fired from his job of 17 years. Wow. Years of abuse followed, and in 2000, after she stabbed him during an argument, John, sick of being treated like Scratchy in the Itchy and Scratchy show, kicked her out of his house, even got a restraining order just to be sure. Yet the man was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. As he lay in bed after a night of drinking, Catherine came to his house and woke him. Listening to the thing in his pants rather than his head, John spent the night with her. But as he was sleeping, the abattoirist made one final attack, and it'd be her most devastating by far. The next morning, worried neighbors noticed splatters of red on the front door. Soon, police arrived and were met with a gruesome scene. Catherine had peeled off his birthday suit and left it hanging on a meat hook on the living room door. On top of his body was a blood-stained note Catherine had written, falsely claiming that John was abusive. And in the kitchen, just when you think it couldn't get any worse, she'd cooked up vegetables and meat sliced from his rump. On the hob was a bubbling pot. Looking inside, the cops saw John's face staring back at them. Jeez, man. And that's not all. On the table was a jug of gravy with plates set out, each with place names set for John's children. She wanted to feed them their own dad. To say the officers were in shock is an understatement. Clearly, this woman was nothing short of a sadistic monster. They found Catherine unconscious after downing some sleeping tablets. She was taken to hospital and, when questioned, claimed that she remembered nothing about her grisly crime. In court, she became the first woman in Australian history to be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Everyone who knew her cut her off, and behind bars, she's become known as the Nana, a big dog who doesn't take crap from anyone. Just as well, because she'll never set foot into the outside world again. After her 25-year marriage came to an end following her husband's death from illness in 1994, Chisako Kakeki was ready to get her claws into another man. In 2007, in Hyogo Prefecture, the 61-year-old woman began a relationship with 78-year-old Toshiaki Suehiro. One afternoon in December, Kakeki was having lunch with Suehiro when he took his usual health supplements, but less than 15 minutes later, he collapsed unconscious in the street. He survived, just. At the hospital, doctors discovered he'd suffered internal asphyxiation. That's when the body's deprived of oxygen, leaving him with brain damage and vision loss. Jeez. The poor guy lived for just another year and a half before finally passing away from cancer. Crikey. Well, I'm sure Kakeki had nothing to do with that. 4 years later, in 2011, she met 71-year-old sports fanatic Masanori Honda, who, head over heels in love, planned to marry her. All seemed well until they briefly met at a store in March 2012. After that short encounter, while riding his motorcycle home, Honda blacked out and crashed. In under 2 hours, his life was over. To add insult to injury, his love, Kakeki, had no intention of marrying him. In fact, just 2 months before his death, she'd already started secretly dating other men. Okay, something is seriously off with this woman, and for her latest target, 78-year-old Minoru Hioki, the warning signs came too late. After being cleared of lung cancer in July 2013, Hioki got a new lease on life and started dating Kakeki, saying he wanted to be with her forever. Aw, I'm sure nothing will go wrong this time, right? So, in September, they went out for dinner, and like Suehiro, Hioki took his supplements. But wouldn't you know it, the guy dropped down right after they finished eating. Despite knowing he had children and had just recovered from cancer, Kakeki lied to the ambulance crew, claiming he had no family and that he was suffering from terminal lung cancer. When they offered to try and resuscitate him, she heartlessly refused. Within 2 hours, he, like so many before him, was gone. You'd think authorities would maybe want to do some digging by now, but nope. A mere 2 months after Hioki's callous death, Kakeki had already married her final husband, Isao Kakeki. Within weeks of tying the knot, the newlyweds sat down for dinner and suddenly suffered an explosive cardiac arrest, making him Kakeki's last ever partner. This, it seemed, finally made people suspicious of this widow's ever-increasing list of deceased partners, and surgeons performed an autopsy on Isao, where they made a shocking discovery. In his heart, blood, and stomach, they found a deadly poison, cyanide. The find launched an immediate investigation. Searching Kakeki's apartment, police found health supplement pills and empty capsules. Had she emptied the supplements and replaced them with cyanide powder? Well, their suspicions were confirmed in August 2014 when investigators found a key piece of evidence. Buried in a pot plant Kakeki had thrown into the trash was a plastic bag containing traces of, cyanide, which she'd got from her job at a printing factory. Kakeki was arrested and confessed to poisoning all her former lovers with cyanide, earning her the moniker of the Black Widow. Her motive was simple. She wanted the men's money. She owed her first victim, Suehiro, 8 million yen, or $437,000. To get rid of the debt, she got rid of him. By the time of her fourth victim, the Black Widow had reportedly gained nearly $9 million in insurance payouts and inheritance, but continued her spree out of sheer greed. She was even accused of offing 4 other men, but since autopsies are rare in Japan, there wasn't enough evidence to charge her for those crimes. Blimey, this woman's insatiable. The Black Widow was sentenced to execution, but while awaiting her sentence, passed away of natural causes in December 2021, aged 78. During the trial, Kakeki found little point in feeling remorse, saying, "Even if you reflect on it, your sins will not go away. It will not reach the dead." Well, that's certainly one way of looking at it. Buckle up, because this next case isn't just horrific, it's downright odd. It was 2020, and on a bus driving through Brighton, Colorado, was 29-year-old Ashley White. She was texting her boyfriend, Cody DeLissa, about a job interview that she'd just had, but Cody told her she'd probably not get it, belittling her career prospects like he always did. Reading his text, Ashley's hope was replaced by despair, and her sadness attracted the attention of a stranger who introduced himself as Scott. He came over and asked her A, if she was in a relationship, and B, whether her boyfriend was abusive. A bit upfront, isn't it? Well, Ashley responded yes to both, and with that, Scott sighed and told her the only solution was to end Cody's life. Any normal person would have noped out of there right then and there, but Ashley? No, she agreed. The pair had been having troubles for months, and she regretted ever meeting him. In fact, her mental health was deteriorating so fast, she'd even tried to drown and burn his pet cat. Meow dare she. Together, the strangers got off the bus and walked to Ashley's home, where Scott introduced himself to Cody as Ashley's brother from Texas and stepped inside. The following morning, on August 14th, 2020, Cody's body was found with 2 gunshots to the head. Authorities haven't revealed what events led to Cody's brutal passing or who pulled the trigger, but we do know that before anyone found the body, Ashley and Scott were shameless enough to steal Cody's wallet and flee the house. They stayed in the area a short while before Scott left Ashley, never to be seen by her again. Without Scott, Ashley was quickly caught and told her whole story to the police, except for the true identity of Scott because, she'd hardly even known him. He remained unidentified until 2023 when a woman contacted the police saying that her boyfriend, Michael Stratton, cool tats, had confessed to being the man responsible for Cody's death. Heck, bro was even involved in a completely separate homicide committed after he'd finished with Cody. Even so, he was deemed unfit to stand trial for undisclosed reasons and wasn't charged in connection with the Cody case. Wow. As for Ashley, her trial began in January 2025, where she was found guilty of the senseless crime. So at least the victim's family has that. Alice Wood and her fiancé, Ryan Watson, were both drinking at a party in Stoke-on-Trent, England, in May 2022. Ryan was known for being the life and soul of the party, and had apparently clicked with another woman, making Alice seethe with jealousy. Tension built as the night went on, and eventually the couple exploded in a fiery argument that continued all the way from the party to their drive home. Yes, drive home after a night of drinking. It was Ryan's car, but Alice had insisted on being behind the wheel, and when they got to the house, the neighbors heard shouting, doors slamming, and the sound of an engine revving. See, after Ryan had got out of the car, he started walking towards their home when Alice suddenly got into her car and hurtled towards him. Ryan narrowly dodged the vehicle, but Alice quickly spun the car around and charged at him again, slamming him onto the hood. Still, that wasn't enough. On the third attempt, she ran the dazed man over, dragging him under the car for 170 yards. What a maniac. Apparently deeming this enough, Alice finally stopped the car, desperately begging a passerby to phone an ambulance. Her exact words, "I think I've run over my boyfriend." You think? Arriving on the scene, paramedics declared that Ryan had tragically lost his life, and Alice was later arrested for her brutal crime.
I'm going to arrest you on... No, listen to me, okay? I'm going to arrest you on suspicion of murder, okay? So you don't have to say anything, but my own defence, you don't mention now something later on in court.
Anyone else really irked by that display of crying? At court, Alice wrote a letter to the judge saying she accepted sole responsibility for Ryan's death, but denied it was intentional, maintaining that she only wanted to intimidate him. Yeah, sure. Well, in 2024, she was found guilty in the highest degree and jailed for a minimum of 18 years. It was a little consolation to Ryan's family, who believed she showed no remorse and wish, more than anything, just to have their boy back.
911, can I help you?
I just stabbed my boyfriend.
Hey, is he awake?
He's dead. I think he's dead.
That was 31-year-old Emily Javier's frantic call to the ambulance after she brutally attacked her 30-year-old boyfriend, Alex Lovell. It all began in 2018 in Camas, Washington. Alex was just a nerd trying to become a video game pro who also loved kung fu movies. But his girlfriend of 2 years was growing tired of his dedication to geeky pastimes and interpreted his relative lack of interest in her as a sign he was cheating. Her suspicions were confirmed when she found scratches on his back, Tinder installed on his phone, and strands of a stranger's red hair in the shower drain. Enraged, she secretly bought a samurai sword and taped it hidden to her side of the bed. and then she bided her time. About a week later, she saw an opportunity. Alex, tired from a day of gaming, climbed into bed and fell asleep. Emily hid his phone so he couldn't call for help, then lit her own phone flashlight to see in the darkness and pulled the sword free. Let's just say she didn't use it to tickle him. The room was a bloodbath. Alex was jolted away in the most horrifying way imaginable, in agonizing pain with his girlfriend leering over him, maniacally holding a samurai sword. Despite his wounds, he mustered all his strength and martial arts prowess to grapple Emily and, in his own words, Wing Chun his way to survival. Eventually, he managed to seize her in a bear hug, only for her to make a grab for his privates. Oof. Luckily, he managed to hold on. As he gripped Emily, he told her he loved her, but that if she didn't call the police, he was going to die. His words seemingly snapped her out of her madness. Realizing what she'd done, she immediately dialed 911. Paramedics arrived on the scene and Alex was treated for his life-threatening injuries. Following the attack, he was temporarily wheelchair-bound, but stayed remarkably upbeat through the months of recovery, even cracking a few jokes about the ordeal. In court, he put his survival down to all the time he spent training at competitive video games and learning martial arts, and denied all cheating claims, saying he hadn't used the app since dating Emily, and that the hair was from his dog or his ginger-tinged beard. With all that gaming, he didn't have the energy to date one girlfriend, let alone two. Commenting on the attack, he said, "I saw the look in her eyes and it scared the living poop out of me." Emily admitted her intent. She wanted to get rid of him for cheating, pure and simple. She pled guilty and received a life sentence. The lesson is clear: never mess with a kung fu master. For all Julie Bush knew, she and her boyfriend, Rick Pernado, were in a faithful relationship, living their best lives in Las Vegas. But in May 2024, she noticed something in the trash that changed everything. Used tampons, and they weren't hers. Convinced he'd been sleeping around, she confronted Rick. I assume she dangled a tampon in his face. Now, Rick had a history of crime and violence, so he wasn't the kind of guy you'd want to get mad. And right on cue, Rick became outraged by Julie's accusations. So he did the only logical thing he knew how to, grabbed a long steel chain and started swinging it around like an insane cowboy. Terrified, Julie ran inside her car and locked the door, but he swung the chain at it, smashing the window in a shower of glass. Fear turning to fury, Julie hit the accelerator and began chasing after him. It didn't take long. Closing in, the car met its target. The force propelled Rick through the air and into a wall where he crumpled like a rag doll. The following day, he succumbed to brain bleeds and collapsed lungs. Man. When the police came snooping, they discovered drugs in Julie's car. As you might have guessed, she'd taken some hours before taking Rick's life. Oh dear. In June 2025, Bush took a plea deal for voluntary manslaughter and DUI with death charges, even expressing remorse for her actions.
I'm sorry that he passed away, and I wish I could change it, but I can't. And I know that there's not a sentence in the world that's going to make anybody satisfied.
Now, sentiment aside, the judge sentenced her to a minimum of 12 years in prison. And the worst part? That tampon she found likely belonged to Rick's roommate, so he probably wasn't cheating. His mother even admitted that he wasn't perfect and had made many mistakes in his life, but the biggest he ever made was getting involved with Julie Bush. Thanks to Free Cash for sponsoring this video, and remember to use my code when signing up for a $10 bonus. Right, I'm out of here. Which crazy girlfriend scared you the most? And do you have any comparable stories? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.